What's up, guys? Welcome back to today's episode of the Sports Sermon. We are brought to you by Scooch, the most functional phone case on the market. Check out ScoochCase.com to get yours today and use the code SPORTS18, sports with a Z, of course, to get a 10% discount on your order. Stay tuned till the end for a special Scooch giveaway as well. But now, today's episode. What's up, guys? Welcome inside the Sports Sermon. I am Jason Gandhi, and today we are here to talk about the upcoming week of college football. Like I said, I'm Jason Gandhi. I am joined today by Dylan Staggy, and then the college football guru himself, Dan Majors. We are here, all three of us, to talk about week one, talk about the games that we think are going to really decide this first weekend of college football and could have big implications on the rest of the season. Talk about an upset that we see happening, and then a player of the week. Really, we're going to do this every week. Hopefully, at some point of the weekend, or as soon as the weekend's over, we're going to have quick reactions to the games that happen, and then preview next week, every single week. So we'll be doing that for college football. We'll be doing that with the NFL. So all of this stuff is good. So make sure you follow us on Twitter at the Sports Sermon, sports with a Z. Make sure you follow us or subscribe to us on YouTube at the Sports Sermon, obviously sports with a Z. And you can check out the show on iTunes and Spotify. So all of those places work, but let's get into it. Dan, what is one of your games that you really think is going to decide? We're going to see a lot for the season moving forward. What game do you want to talk about?
Well, I think you got to go with Notre Dame, Michigan. The rivalry renewed. It's going to be a huge game out in South Bend. Wearing green, maybe, I don't know. But, yeah, I mean, it's going to come down to quarterback play for both teams. And, I mean, Shea Patterson, we're going to get to see, is he going to be a Heisman candidate like you think, Jason?
Yep.
Or with Brandon Wimbush, he's got to gain confidence. And, I mean, maybe Book has to come in. Kelly has said that he might throw in Book in there. He said Wimbush will start, but Book might have to come in. So if Wimbush plays his ass off, it's all going to come down to Wimbush. And then for Michigan, I think it's all going to come down to Shea Patterson. Because Michigan always has a great team, but their quarterback, not so great. So, I don't know. I got Notre Dame in it. I think Notre Dame will get the job done. I think Brandon Wimbush will have a great game. And it'll really spark a huge season for Notre Dame.
Yeah, so I really like this game. Obviously, it's number 14 at number 12. It's a primetime game. It's everything you want out of this rivalry. But the one thing I'm looking for is not the quarterbacks. I'm ready because this is going to decide a lot about these coaches. I think both coaches have their seats a little warmer. I think Harbaugh's is definitely warmer than Kelly's. But if Notre Dame struggles this year and doesn't live up to this 12th ranking, and maybe they're unranked by the end of the season, they go 7-5, 8-4, do you start to hear some whispers that we heard 1 or 2 years ago, I forget which, with Michigan? This is a big year for Jim Harbaugh. He has got to beat Ohio State and Michigan State, and I think he's got to be 10-2, at worst 9-3, and this is a big game, because if you drop this game in Notre Dame, yes, it's home for Notre Dame, but you start off 0-1, and the Michigan boosters are only going to get louder and louder if Michigan starts to struggle. Shea Patterson and Michigan have to save Harbaugh's job if they want him there at Michigan, because I think this is the perfect game to start the season off for both teams.
Who do you think?
Yeah, Michigan also has a really tough schedule. So
exactly.
Yeah, they got to get this first win to get them going.
Do you guys think this game is bigger for Michigan or Notre Dame?
I would say Michigan personally. I think Notre Dame can still recover because they've got such a good schedule. I wouldn't say necessarily tough, but a good, notable team schedule where you can make up for it. Where Michigan, I don't think anybody expects Michigan to go run the table in the Big Ten. So you have to expect another loss, whether it's Ohio State, Wisconsin, at Michigan State, or just an upset. So then you already put them at 2 losses, and then I think this game is huge for Michigan because if they lose this, it could start to spiral come Big Ten play. So for me, I'm going with Michigan.
Yeah, I think it's a bigger game. I think this is the biggest game of the year for both teams because a lot of times you look back at this game when it was a rivalry, whoever won this game had a great year and whoever lost did not have a great year. So I think it's just a huge game for both teams. If I had to, I'd give the nod to Michigan just because it is a tougher schedule, but both schedules are just tough on its own.
Yeah, see, I would disagree with you on that notion that it's the biggest game for both teams. I think it is for Notre Dame. For Michigan, like I said, it's got to be the last game of the year. It's got to be the at Ohio State game. Not only could they be playing for the Big Ten, not only could they be playing for a chance at the playoff, but I truly believe they are playing for Harbaugh's job. There is no excuse to go winless against Ohio State. Yes, they were only 2 plays away from him being in a completely different conversation, but they are in the situation they're in, and if they don't win against Ohio State, I think he's got to worry. So for me, I think Ohio State is the biggest game of the year for any team.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I also think that this is a bigger game for Notre Dame because although Michigan's schedule is definitely tougher, that also means they have more opportunities to make up for it. And Jason, you're the one that always says that Notre Dame has to go 12-0 to make the playoffs. So,
but I don't think they're a playoff team. I don't think they're a playoff team.
I mean, it's definitely more likely than not that they're going to miss the playoffs.
Yeah.
But I mean, this game would, for you at least, I would think would take them out of it. So I think it's a bigger game for Notre Dame. Michigan still has a lot more opportunities to make a bigger statement than Notre Dame does throughout the season.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, Dylan, you got a game you want to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, the 2 highest-ranked teams playing this week, Washington and Auburn. I'll throw that out there first. Who do you guys have?
Yeah, so honestly, this is a game I go back and forth on. I'm rolling with Washington, and it's because the numbers don't lie. Auburn is 0-3 in season openers when both teams are ranked, and they've lost 11 of its last 12 non-home games against top 20 teams, and they are really inexperienced. They rely so heavily on Cam Martin, I think, this year. True freshman. I got him in my fantasy league, so I like him a lot, and I think he's going to be a good player. He just, first game of the year, going up against a tough Washington defense, and the offensive line lost 4 starters, and they were already 101st nationally in giving up sacks last year. I think it's going to be even worse this year. So I'm worried about Auburn's offense, specifically their running game, and so I have to give the nod to Washington. But I am so excited for this game.
Yeah, the way I look at it, I'm just going to stick with the pick that I had over the summer. I had Auburn over Washington. I think Washington is the better team with Browning and Gaskin. I think Gaskin's the most underrated player in the country. But you look at the Pac-12 in their bowl record last year, having 1 win in bowl games last year, I think they struggle against an SEC opponent, and so I'll give the nod to Auburn. But I do think Washington is the better team, and I think they can make the playoff if they lose this game still.
Yeah, that's what I think. I look at Washington as a legit playoff team, and so I think they're going to beat Auburn. And this is a game, just like Michigan Notre Dame, that is so big for both teams because if Auburn drops this game, for me, I would almost argue that they might be out of the playoff conversation because I don't see them beating Alabama and Georgia. So you're already at 3 losses, and then you're done. Like, I think if Auburn loses this game, they're in a world of hurt for me personally. Washington, on the other hand, I don't think it's as big of a deal because I think they can still go undefeated. Like you said, how they can still make the playoff whether they win or lose this. But it definitely makes the road harder because dropping game 1 is a bigger deal than dropping like the 5th game of the year because it starts your season off on with a really bad taste.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there, Jason. I think Washington can definitely still recover, but Auburn having those tough SEC games down the road, it's definitely going to make it much harder road for them. And they're perennially a pretty inconsistent team. So I'm going to go with Washington. I think it's a really close game, though. I mean, if Auburn's defense shows up, I don't think Washington has any chance. But I think it is the first game, so I think things could start off a little bit slower for Auburn, and Washington takes advantage and gets the win.
Yeah. Any last thoughts on that Washington-Auburn game? I love that it's a 3:30 game. That's one thing I just want to mention. It's 3:30. I love that because we're going to get one game that I'm going to talk about later at 12 that I'm so excited for. Then you go 3:30 to Washington-Auburn. Then you go night from Michigan-Notre Dame. It's just such a good Saturday of college football.
Yeah. One other thing with Auburn is I feel like we could see another thing like last year where if they drop Washington, then they could drop a Mississippi State or something,
yep.
And then they could still make the playoff with 2 losses with Georgia, Alabama in their last.
But there's no
games.
way they're at Georgia and at Alabama.
No. I'm saying like they can make the playoff with 2 losses if they won those games. I'm not saying they will.
No, I know you're not. I'm just saying like For me, I don't give them a chance to win either of those games. That's all I'm saying. Like
Yeah, I got you.
I think the only way they get in is if they somehow go 10-2, and they somehow get the argument to get over Georgia and Bama. I literally do not give them a chance against Georgia or Alabama.
I mean, they'd have to win they'd have to get into and win
exactly.
the SEC championship.
And I don't know how they're going to have. I think they need help to get into the playoff in general, and that's where I don't buy Auburn this year. And I think you lose this game, and I thought you were going a different direction. I think they could lose this game. This spiral them. Then they drop to an at Mississippi State. Now they're at 4 losses. Now they're 8-4, and now you're hearing things about Gus Malzahn getting that extension and all of that. I was thinking you were going to take it with a negative side, but you kind of took it with the positive that they could still get in. I think that if they lose this game, it could be the start of a bad season for Auburn.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. One game I want to bring up, it's not a ranked game. It's not a huge playoff implication game. You guys both went with haymakers off the top. I'm going to start with a game that comes chronologically first. I'm going with Northwestern at Purdue. I talked about this in the Big Ten episode. I think this is such a big game to decide the Big Ten and so much that falls after it. I know that sounds dumb because I don't think any of us have Northwestern or Purdue contending for the Big Ten East or West, but come on, Dan. You do not have Northwestern or Purdue up there.
I mean, who else is going to contend with Wisconsin?
Iowa.
Okay. If you're saying Iowa, I can say Northwestern. How about that?
I mean, but do you really think it's going to happen, or are you just saying it to go against Iowa?
Wait, say that again?
I said, do you actually think that, or are you just saying that to go against Iowa? Like, do you actually think Northwestern can do it?
I think it's Wisconsin, and then, maybe Northwestern, but it's Wisconsin. It's
okay.
The only team I can think.
I got you. Anyway, so...
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, so I look at this game. It's a Thursday night game. If Purdue wins this, now they're coming off a heck of a season last year where they completely outperformed that more than anyone else thought they were. Then they beat that team. Then they go with Eastern Michigan, Missouri. That could be easily 3-0. Boston College at home, you never know. I don't think they get the dub, but maybe. That means you're 3-1. At Nebraska, definitely a winnable game. Now they're 4-1, and now they're making legitimate noise. Let's go to Northwestern. They beat Purdue. They've got Duke, which is a winnable game. Akron. Then they have a bye, so that means they're 3-0. Then they go into a brutal Michigan State, and then Wisconsin, Notre Dame at Iowa. If they win this game, then they have a shot. If they lose this game, I don't see a way they're in the conversation for anything. They lose at Purdue, then they have to go home for Michigan, at Michigan State, home for Wisconsin, home for Notre Dame, at Iowa. Those are 6 losses right there if they lose to Purdue. And so I think this is such a big game for both teams. Purdue is completely new on defense almost. They lost so much on defense, so I don't think they're going to be nearly as good as they were last year. And so if they lose this game, do we see back to what Purdue's usually doing at 4-8, 3-9, 2-10 even maybe? I don't know. I think this game is just a really big deal that kind of goes under the radar because neither team's ranked. But now both teams could really shape up how this Big Ten West falls comes November, December, etc.
Yeah, I think it's a big game from Purdue. And I think literally every game for Purdue is big because they have such a tough schedule.
I know.
So, I don't know. But then Northwestern, I'm in love with Clayton Thorson. I think he's just going to ball out this year. Northwestern has the longest winning streak in the Power 5 right now.
He's still banged up, though. I mean, he tore his ACL in the bowl game, remember? I don't think there's a guarantee he's playing Thursday.
I mean, yeah, but I'm just saying. He still won that game.
No, yeah, I'm just saying, that's... I think he will because it's weird to see a starting quarterback sit out. But I just say, he did tear his ACL. That's concerning a little bit.
No, yeah. So, yeah, I think it's a big game for Purdue. I think every game is going to be a big game for Purdue because their schedule's so tough. But Northwestern, I think you're right. If they lose this, then things could spiral. But
see, I think their schedule is brutal.
You think it's worse than Purdue?
No, not worse.
Oh.
I mean, Phil Steele, I'm looking at what he has. He has Purdue's the second toughest schedule in the country and Northwestern at 13. Both are just so freaking tough.
No, yeah.
And the thing that bails out Northwestern is their non-conference isn't too tough. They draw Notre Dame, which is obviously really tough, but then they have Duke and Akron, where Purdue gets Missouri and Boston
Duke's
College.
Not bad.
No, they're not bad, but they're not.
They could definitely beat Northwestern. Like I'll pick Northwestern, but
yeah, it's home. I mean, I'm still taking Northwestern, but it's not like a great non-conference. Where you look at Purdue, they got Missouri and Boston College, and then they have Ohio State, Michigan State, Wisconsin, all those teams. I don't know. Both teams have such a difficult schedule for me, where if they lose this game, it could be the start to a really bad season. But at the same time, I'm not sure this win gets them contending for the Big Ten West either. I just think it's more of you can't afford to lose this as much of it is we have to win this game, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, this should be a pretty exciting game, too. Plenty of offense. Like you mentioned, Purdue's defense is completely new. So it should be an exciting one to watch on Thursday also.
Yeah, definitely. Dan, you want to give us your second game?
So my second game is a game that I just can't wait to see this team play. West Virginia and Tennessee, I don't think is going to be close. And I think we're going to get to see why West Virginia is a playoff contender.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
They're definitely a Big 12 contender. There's no doubt about that. But we're going to get to see this offense just ball out. David Sills, baller. Will Greer, stud. I mean, you're about to see the best offense, one of the best offenses in the country. So.
Yeah, so I am not that high on West Virginia. Yes, I think they are Big 12 contenders. I think they are the third or fourth best team in the Big 12, but it is what it is. For me, I'm excited to see Will Greer. I'm not excited because I think he's going to light it up. I'm excited to see, for my eyes, I want to see him look as an NFL prospect. How does he look when he faces pressure? How does he look when he has to read certain coverages? That's what's important to me because I personally just don't think West Virginia is a team that's competing this year. And so for me, I look at it for moving forward, what do I want to see from Will Greer if I'm a team from an NFL perspective? So with this game, I'm more looking at it the NFL perspective where I want to see what does Will Greer show me that he's worth a first-round pick. That's why I'm looking at this game.
Yeah, definitely true. I mean, the Tennessee side, too, Jeremy Pruitt in his first game as the Tennessee coach, it'd be a huge thing for him to even be competitive in this game with how bad Tennessee was last year. So if they can be competitive, I mean, it'd be a huge step in the right direction for Tennessee.
Do we think that Tennessee has any chance in this game, or is everyone saying they're going to get blown out?
No. West Virginia is going to kill them.
Yeah, I mean, one last thing I just want to bring up. Jeremy Pruitt never being a head coach. He's in the SEC. He's got tough sledding. He's got West Virginia to start the year. Then he's got 2 cupcakes, and then Florida at Georgia, come off a bye, and then you go at Auburn and home for Bama. Do we think Jeremy Pruitt is... What did you guys like the hire at Tennessee for Jeremy Pruitt, and do you think he has any chance of success this year for Tennessee?
No, not this year. Not at all. But, I mean, with that incredibly tough schedule, he's not going to have much of a chance in his first year. But I do like the hire, and I think down the road, Tennessee could eventually get back up there in the SEC.
No, yeah, you look at other teams and, new head coaches coming in, and they have talent. But Tennessee, you look at them, they just don't have talent.
Yeah.
There's just nothing that gets me up in the morning. Marquez Galloway is pretty good. I mean, don't get me wrong, he looked... I mean, if you guys remember last year in the opener, he balled out, and then he just, we never heard of him again. He just, went off the map. And so, maybe Pruitt gets him going, but, I just look at this roster, top to bottom, there's nothing that gets me up in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, tough sledding for Jeremy Pruitt. I honestly, I thought it took balls to go take the job. That is a tough job to take right now. Who was the guy they wanted, then they, backed out on because social media didn't like it?
Was it Greg Schiano?
Was it Schiano? Do you remember that, Dan?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, they hired somebody, and then everyone has lost their mind, and they just decided not to hire him. That was wild.
Yeah, I remember that,
Yeah, Rocky Top. Not in a good situation. Dylan, what's your second game?
My second game's going to be Texas and Maryland.
Yeah.
Obviously, last year the game was crazy, 51-41. Maryland won. Texas is trying to take a step forward this year, and Maryland, obviously with the off-the-field issues this offseason, it'll be interesting seeing them get back on the field for the first time. So just an interesting Week 1 matchup.
Yeah, I think we all agreed last year that Texas was going to compete for the Big 12 and be really solid.
Yeah.
And they played that Maryland game, and then we were like, oh no, we're probably wrong about this. So,
yeah, what Texas team did we just hype up?
Yeah,
For sure.
I feel like it's the same kind of thing this year. We're talking about Texas the same way.
Exactly. Yep. So we'll see if the exact same thing maybe happens.
Yeah, see, I do not think it's the same thing. I love this Texas team. I made that very...
No, I'm saying Texas wins. I'm not.
No, I know. I'm
Okay.
just saying, like, I just look at this team, and I absolutely love what Tom Herman's doing down in Austin. I am a huge fan of Texas this year. The Big 12's down because you lose a guy like Baker Mayfield, who was just so dominant of this Big 12. The door is open for Texas, and I think this could be a good jumpstart. I don't see a way Maryland's competitive, and not because they're not good, because I think there's so much going on at Maryland right now where the last thing they can focus on is football, which sounds crazy. But, like, every day there's a new story about DJ Durkin, and I feel bad for those guys. I feel bad for the players, but I think this is going to be a dumpster fire of a season for Maryland. I think Texas kind of gets hot going on the road at Maryland, and I would take Texas with as a 10.5 point favorite. I think they go and just blow out the Terrapins for me personally. One thing I do want to just bring up though about this Maryland situation, I saw this on Twitter, and this is just crazy. You look at the Big Ten East. Penn State, this is all within like the last 10 years. Penn State had the Sandusky issue. Ohio State had this Zach Smith shit. Michigan State, the sexual assault that's just insane. Maryland does DJ Durkin stuff. Rutgers is on probation. Indiana had their head coach fired for being abusive. And Michigan just got in trouble for all those selling Jordan gear. All of those teams have issues.
That's insane.
That's crazy. Like
I hadn't really thought about that.
I know. I didn't either. I just saw it on Twitter. I was going through it, and I was like, that is unreal.
And there's still, I believe it was like the second best conference division in the entire college football.
I think there's an argument for the first one. I think there's a legit argument for the first. But yeah, I wanted to bring that up because I think that's crazy. Just how much is going on, yet they're just. I think there's more to the Ohio State situation, more to the Michigan State situation, and I'm sure there's got to be something in Michigan. I don't know. I just think there's.
I know. No one's talking about the Michigan thing. I don't understand that. Like when it came out over Twitter, like I think it was like 2 weeks ago. Nothing. Like ESPN didn't even talk about it. It was weird.
It's because this Urban Meyer thing just completely dominated the headlines.
I guess, but like I watched ESPN that day, and there wasn't a lot on it. Like, why not talk about Michigan? Like, what just happened? Like, at least talk about the rumors or something, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
So, it was just a weird situation.
Definitely, for sure. All right, my second game I want to bring up is probably my second favorite game of the weekend. Michigan Notre Dame first because, like I said, I'm really high on Michigan, and I think Notre Dame could be have a boomer bust year. So that's my number one. But for my number two, this might be my favorite game. It's FAU and Oklahoma. How do you not just get up and love that game? Oklahoma, Kyler Murray, a freaking stud, and got drafted 9th overall. One of my favorite players in college football, can throw a baseball unlike any other, has to fill the shoes of Baker Mayfield, who was one of the greats to ever play the game. Kyler comes in, probably his only year going to start at quarterback, and then he's going to go play baseball. So much pressure on him. Then you look at FAU. Lane freaking Kiffin. Making FAU a destination. Devin Singletary, one of the best rushers in the country. Probably, some would say, the best rusher. Devin Singletary, FAU. Can they go upset Oklahoma? At Oklahoma. Dylan, you have the odds up right now. What are the odds? It was just up there. Scroll up.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, it's not looking to be that close. Oklahoma's favored by 20.5.
Yeah, I saw 22 earlier. So 20.5. I was tempted to go bet on FAU. I think it could be close. I don't know if, at the same time, I don't know if it stays close the whole game, but I think like the first half, we could have this might be the most fun game in college football that we look back and say, hey, remember week 1 FAU at Oklahoma? When this game got scheduled, I was so freaking excited. I am pumped for FAU Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I mean, remember Oklahoma, Houston a couple years back?
Yep.
Exactly. So, I mean, also, you look at Florida Atlantic, I've been saying this, they're the only Group of 5 team that if they go undefeated, they would actually have a shot at making the playoff.
Yeah.
If everything falls into place, they could make the playoff with going 12-0.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely need this game, though. I just really don't see it. I mean, I agree with you, Jason. I think this could be a game where we see the first half, FAU hangs in there, but then Oklahoma just in the second half puts a beat down on them.
That's what I'm saying. I think this game could be sneakily close.
Another thing, I talked about Northwestern having the longest winning streak in the Power 5. Florida Atlantic has the longest winning streak, 10 games in all of college football.
Yeah.
So, exactly. I mean, they played Wisconsin, I think, week 1 or 2 last year, and it wasn't that close, but then they just went crazy at the end of the year last year. So, I mean, I think it's a close full game. I got Oklahoma. I'm not going to pick Florida Atlantic, but, yeah.
Exactly. I'm not either, and I'm not trying to say that anybody should pick them. It's just for me, I just look at this game and I'm like, what if they get this done and can upset them? It would be so freaking crazy. The first weekend of college football, and it's the type of game that would happen. Like, this is the type of week 1 college football upset that, like, just feels so perfect. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I love Devin Singletary. I love Lane Kiffin and what he's doing, making them 11-3 last year. With this FAU team, he just took over. No one knew anything about him, and Devin freaking Singletary. And then Oklahoma, Lincoln Riley just takes over. Bob Stoops leaves. Who knows what we've got? Leads them to the playoff. Now they lose their starting quarterback. What does Kyler Murray do? I'm so excited. Cannot wait for this game. Dan, what's your last game you want to bring up?
So, Sunday night game, I got Miami and LSU. It'll be interesting. I mean, you look at, I forget what year it was, when LSU played Wisconsin, and LSU was ranked top 10, Wisconsin was unranked. Wisconsin won that game, and then that totally boosted their season. You look at LSU this year; they're ranked 25th. A lot of people are writing them off this year. I think I have them at like 5-7. So, if they win this game, that'd be huge for them. I don't see them winning it though. I have Miami probably in a pretty big blowout, but like, there's a lot LSU needs to prove about their team. So, I don't know.
Yeah, for me, I don't love either team, and I don't know who I'd pick. I definitely would not bet on this game. I don't know what the odds are, but I would stay away from this game because I don't love either team. I think Miami has a lot of question marks. The biggest one for me, like I've made it pretty clear, Malik Rozier. Is he good enough to be a starting quarterback for this caliber of a team? I'm honestly not sure. Then I look at LSU. Can Joe Burrow be the quarterback? I truly do not think so. I think LSU has a quarterback problem. I do not like Ed Orgeron. I think he's gone in the middle of the season. I think this might be a pretty bad season for LSU. Miami is going to have a good record because of how easy their schedule is. I don't know. This is one of the games where I almost don't even want to watch it because I don't like either team this year. But it could be a heck of a good game because neither team is going to dominate.
Yeah, Miami's currently favored by 3. So
Really?
I think this game is going to be close, actually. I have Miami winning, but only by 1 point. So I think it'll definitely be interesting. I mean, LSU, there is a lot of talent on the roster, but a lot of question marks, too. I feel like it's kind of the same way for Miami. So, I mean, for me, it's a tough one to predict.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly how I feel. I just don't know. I feel like you could ask me today and I'd pick Miami, and then tomorrow I'd say, hey, maybe LSU can upset them. I really don't feel confident about either game, and either team. I don't think this game is one where I'm confident in any direction. Dylan, what's your game?
All right, my last game is going to be Oregon State and Ohio State. Not necessarily for the football, but I mean, all the crazy things that have happened with the Urban Meyer situation at Ohio State. I mean, just how this team looks mentally ready to be on the field. I mean, Oregon State's going to be an easy one, but obviously the Big Ten schedule down the road is going to be tough. How will they adjust for Urban Meyer back down the road? I think just this whole Ohio State situation is going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah, so I don't know. I look at this game. Oregon State is the worst team in the Power 5 and arguably one of the worst in all of college football. you look at Ohio State, you're talking about, like, how you think they look mentally and stuff. I don't think you see it with this game because Oregon State's so bad. So, I don't know. I mean, you look at a game. Who do they play next week? Is it another
Oregon State or Ohio State?
Ohio State.
Let me get it up. Keep talking, but I'll look.
They have TCU, obviously, in week 3.
Yeah.
So
Next week's Rutgers, so next week Rutgers, so it should be another cupcake.
Actually, like, Rutgers isn't. Rutgers is a lot better than Oregon State, I think. But so I think you get a little bit better of judgment then, and then TCU, you obviously get a much better judgment there. But I don't think you get a very good judgment with Oregon State.
Yeah, for me, I could not care less about the game. I care more about what is this team going to look like. Do they come out motivated for their coach? Do they come out disappointed in their coach? I don't think that's realistic, but I don't know. I worry about Ohio State because this is a lot of drama going on with a team that had such high expectations. I've kind of lowered my expectations because of all of this that's come out. I think this bugs a team. I mean, Urban Meyer's been gone for however many weeks now. So, yes, they get 2 cupcakes in Oregon State and Rutgers, but week 3 versus TCU, I originally did not think there was any chance TCU had a shot. I would not be surprised to see TCU upset them. Yes, Ohio State's got so much talent out the wazoo, but Urban Meyer has been gone. I personally think he should be fired. It's unbelievable that college football is letting him stay, but it is what it is. I just think this team comes out probably a little flatter than we expect. They don't come out and show why they're a playoff-worthy team. They come out and I think they look a little flat, which raises some question marks because Urban Meyer and all of this stuff I think could be the start of maybe a team. Dan, we talked about this in the college football playoff episode. There's always that team that falls out of the top 10. Is this a huge disappointment of a year for Ohio State? Does this Urban Meyer stuff be just the beginning? There's more that comes out. There's more that comes out. Players get suspended. Who knows? And then maybe is that the team that falls out? I don't know. I just truly believe there's more to this Ohio State situation.
Players get suspended.
Dude, I have no idea. I think Ohio State, there's got to be something. I just think there's so much more to this. And I think because they're letting Urban Meyer stay, that just kind of shows what kind of program they're running over in Columbus. And so that worries me.
I totally agree. I mean, they rushed this so much. It's
exactly.
Insane. It's just insane.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Like, yes, I get it because you want him back for college football, but there is a legitimate issue here. Like, this isn't that they sold shoes. If they sold shoes, I'd agree. Yes, shut up. Like, go past this. This is a legitimate issue, an issue that we're seeing in all of sports, and there is no place for this in college football. My game, I want to talk about my last one. It's a game that is on a Monday night, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Monday night, September 3rd. It's a game that people honestly probably won't talk about very much because Florida State doesn't have the same kind of swagger that they usually have. They lose Jimbo Fisher. Virginia Tech had so many off-the-field issues this year. We talked about him in that episode. 20-19, we see Willie Taggart coach his first game. A lot of people were scratching their heads as to why he got the job at Florida State. It is what it is. He's now got to go prove himself. You guys know I love DeAndre Francois. I love Cam Akers, 2 of my favorite players in all of college football. I think those two have a heck of a year, and it has to start versus Virginia Tech. They're home. I like this game. I think it's a good game back and forth, and Florida State pulls out at the end. I don't have a score, but I think Florida State wins this game, and I think this is just a game that we kind of, like I said about the Florida Atlantic-Oklahoma game, this could be a game we look back at the first week of the season and are still talking about.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch this game. I mean, Florida State, with everything that's happened with them, DeAndre Francois coming back, I can't wait to see him. See if Florida State is a legit ACC contender, any kind of contender. I mean, and then you look at Virginia Tech, I'm not sure this is as big of a game for them because if they lose this game, I think they go, I think it's 4 straight. Yeah, 4 straight. They're 4-1 going into Notre Dame. And they get Notre Dame home. And I think they beat Notre Dame. At a 4-1 record, they're either ranked or close to ranked. So I think they get Notre Dame and then they go into North Carolina. They go into the second half of the season looking really good. So I'm not sure this is as big of a game for Virginia Tech than it is for Florida State.
Yeah, I mean, I think this game is going to answer a lot of questions for both teams because of the crazy off seasons for both. Florida State with losing Jimbo Fisher, Virginia Tech with all the off-the-field stuff, losing a ton in their secondary. So I don't really like Virginia Tech this year, and I think Florida State gets a big win week 1.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think the last thing I want to say about that is with Florida State, I think this season depends so much on DeAndre Francois. Is he the same Francois that we saw 2 years ago? If so, I think people are sleeping on Florida State and they surprise people. If not, this could be another 6-7 win season for Florida State, and then you never know what could happen after that.
I don't think it's as bad as last year. I think there's no way they'd fall that far. Or stay the same.
I think they would stay the same, which is 6 wins. I don't know.
I think they have to improve.
I do not agree if DeAndre Francois is not the guy that we think he's going to be.
They still have the talent this year. I don't know about the future with Jimbo gone,
but they had the talent last year.
They didn't know what to do when DeAndre left. I mean,
I agree.
Yeah, James Blackman was.
But James Blackman's not better.
Very...
I do not think he's any better than he was last year. Like, yes, he has experience, so that helps, but he's not going to keep them competitive. He was horrible last year. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, so I don't see if Francois gets hurt or whatever, if he's not the same and they have to bench him, I would worry about Florida State. I don't think that happens. I think Florida State stays competitive, is second or third in the ACC, and they surprise some teams. I think that's definitely something that's realistic. I think they could definitely surprise some people. What is your guys' upset pick this first weekend of college football? We always see an upset. Is it going to be as big as Appalachian State over Michigan like we saw all those years ago? Is it going to be something where it's a team like Tennessee that was 23rd and they almost lost week 1 and then it was a bad season? Or who knows? What is the upset that's going to happen this year?
So, mine's not very big. It's a very under-the-radar game. But I'll explain it. So, Western Michigan and Syracuse. Syracuse comes into this game. I don't think they come in as 5.5-point favorites. I don't see how that's even possible. I got Western Michigan in this game, and Western Michigan, they get a win. They go 1-0. Let's head out to Michigan in Ann Arbor. Let's see what we can do there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think it's a big game for them. Big win.
I like that. I don't hate it. It's definitely under the radar. I don't think anybody's talking about it, whether they win or lose. I don't think anybody's going, wow, Western Michigan upset Syracuse.
Yeah, it is at home, too.
Yep.
So, yeah, I like that. I went not super crazy notable, but I went with a game that I think is going to surprise some people and it's going to set college football up for a great season. It's a Friday night game. You guys might know where I'm going. I'm going San Diego State at Stanford. I think the Aztecs have a shot to get this done. Christian Chapman, his senior year, he's going to have his best season yet. I don't know why. I have a weird feeling about this game. We always know there's a great rusher out of San Diego State. It is Juwan Washington. This year's Donnell Pumphrey and Rashad Penny. I think possibly. I love the Aztecs this year. I have them going in at Stanford, and I think maybe, just maybe, they get that upset.
Jason.
Yes, sir.
No, bro. I mean, Stanford is arguably a national title contender. It's at Stanford. They have Bryce Love. San Diego State just lost Rashad Penny.
Dude, they lost Donnell Pumphrey last year and it didn't hold them back.
Exactly. They got Rashad Penny. You have no idea what this other guy is going to do.
I like Juwan Washington this year. He's solid, bro.
Dude, don't even give me that. No.
Yes.
Stanford in a blowout, probably.
No way. I like San Diego State. They're my upset pick this year. Not this year, this week. I love it. I'm picking an upset every week that I think is realistic. That's going to be a big college football shocker. I'm trusting in the Aztecs. I have a great friend that lives out in San Diego State, goes there. I'm all in on the Aztecs. Let's go.
I think some kind of upset like that has to happen in week 1, but I don't think it's that.
It is. Dan, put money on it. Put your money on San Diego State.
No.
Dylan, what are the odds? I'll look while you guys talk.
It's 15.5.
I'm taking them. Let's go. Aztecs, baby. Let's go.
Straight up, San Diego
No,
State.
with the plus 15. Oh, yeah, but I mean, like, I'm betting plus 15.5 for sure.
Oh, man.
Get your merch. Go get that money.
All right, I'm going to go with a little bit of smaller one. Wyoming, they're at home versus Washington State. Washington State just loses so much from last year. Luke Falk, obviously, and then their quarterback in waiting sadly committed suicide over the offseason. So Wyoming at home, I think they get the job done week 1. And then going back to that Miami-LSU game, I almost picked LSU there. I think that's another one that I would not be surprised at all if LSU came out on top.
Yeah, Dylan. So, you mentioned how big of a loss all these things were at Washington State. Luke Falk's gone and all these players. Wyoming lost the only guy that anyone can name on Wyoming's roster ever, right? And Josh Allen. He's not there.
Yeah.
You're trusting a redshirt freshman to go in and upset a good team in Washington State.
I would not call them a good
They're not
team.
bad, though. Like, they're a solid Power 5 team. I don't look at them as like an Oregon State or a Illinois or Rutgers. Like, they're fine.
Definitely a below-average Power 5 team.
They are a fine Power 5 team. Dan, you're taking Wyoming, too?
I'm not saying it's unrealistic. How about that?
I'm not either. I'm just saying, like, you mentioned all the things that the other team's losing. I'm like, Wyoming is losing Josh Allen. I don't think anyone else can name anyone else on Wyoming.
Yeah, it's not like Josh Allen was anything great against any Power 5 schools last year, though. Every time he played one, he was not very good.
He was still a heck of a freaking good quarterback. Like, I don't know. I don't think anything on Wyoming is getting me going, especially Tyler Vanderwall, redshirt freshman. I don't know. I think that's an interesting pick. Both of you guys picked some under-the-radar ones. You don't think we have that blockbuster upset?
No, I think we do. I just couldn't find it, honestly. One game we have not talked about, Alabama-Louisville.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about that?
I just do not trust Louisville without Lamar Jackson. That's a game that I don't want to put my, career on. Like, I don't want to bank on that.
Your career?
Puma Pass might be good, but, like, I just think there's so many question marks. I hate Bobby Petrino. He's a bum. But I don't know. Puma Pass doesn't get me going. He'll be fine. They could be decent, but not against Alabama. Let's not get crazy.
No, I don't think they pull off the upset or anything, but I think there's definitely potential for, like, a Mississippi State game last year that Alabama played in. Alabama, it's not an SEC team, so I guess it's a different opponent for Alabama, so.
Yeah,
they have one pass. What if he's just an absolute baller? I don't know. So, I don't think there's a potential for an upset, but I think there's a potential for that close game that everybody's like, ooh, Alabama's not as good as we thought they were.
Yeah, possibly. Alabama does let some teams hang around for a little while, especially in non-conference. So
okay.
Maybe.
Before we go, I got to ask, who's starting week 1 at Clemson? Who's starting week 1 at Bama?
Week 1, Clemson, Kelly Bryant. Later,
I agree.
It's going to be Trevor Lawrence. Week 1, Alabama. Dude, I'm so back and forth on this. I think it should be Tua. We've totally been over that.
Who do you think it's going to be?
I'm watching the Alabama training days rolling with the Tide right now on ESPN, and all Nick Saban's saying is whoever it is has to win the team. And I just keep on seeing it. I think it's going to end up being Jalen Hurts.
That's funny.
But with his comments, though, you don't think that he thinks that he's out of it?
No, that's not a big deal. I don't think
No, I don't think
those were so blown out of proportion. But I'm going to go the opposite way, Dan. I think it should be Jalen Hurts. But the closer and closer we get, more of me just starts to think it's going to be Tua. I don't know why. I have a weird feeling. I don't think anybody knows at this point. I have a weird feeling it's going to be Tua.
When Nick Saban says win the team, it just makes me think Jalen Hurts because I feel like he has better chemistry with his players than Tua does. So
yeah, I can see that for sure, but also Tua won over the team when he won them the national championship in the second half of the season.
Jalen Hurts has won over the team when
for sure.
He's going 26-2 or whatever the record is.
Yeah,
so.
I 100% agree. I'm just saying, like, I don't know. I have a weird feeling it's going to be Tua. I agree with you. It's going to be Kelly Bryant. Dylan at Clemson. Dylan, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm going with Bryant and Tua also.
Didn't want to say his last name. You didn't want to say Brian and Tagovailoa.
Tua Tagovailoa.
Tagovailoa. All right.
It's Tagovailoa. But anyway, go.
It is actually Tagovailoa. I did read that. But, okay, anyone got
Just
a player
like
of the week real
Tyrod
fast?
Taylor.
Yeah.
Tyrod
Taylor. Player of the week, anybody real fast?
I got Brandon Wimbush. I don't think it's going to be because of stats or anything. I know Jason probably just rolled his eyes. On the
How'd you
podcast,
know?
But,
That's awesome.
no, I don't think it's going to be because of his stats or anything. But I think it's going to be because he's the one who Notre Dame needs to win this game, and I think it's going to come down to quarterbacks in that game, and Brandon Wimbush gets it done.
Yeah, I went with a stat patter. I'm going J.K. Dobbins. I think he comes out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think Ohio State didn't obviously put enough in because the coaches knew they have a game. They don't open up the playbook. They're kind of behind on where they need to be developmentally, so they say, hey, let's just run the ball and let's just get through this first week. Who better than J.K. Dobbins to do that? I could see J.K. Dobbins rushing for 200-something yards, 3 touchdowns, and just taking the league by storm week 1.
I'm going to keep on the same team. I'll go with Dwayne Haskins.
I thought about him. That's funny we both went that way.
Yeah, I mean, Ohio State should put up plenty of points against Oregon State. Honestly, they both could be. So,
I think Dan makes a good point the way he did his based on what would need to happen based on how he has the game going in that direction. Like, hey, he has Notre Dame winning, so it has to be Wimbush. If I'm doing that, then I got to go with Myles Gaskin of Washington because I think they're gonna have a heck of a game. I think Washington's really gonna solidify themselves as a legitimate contender. People don't want to give them credit because they're in the Pac-12. I look at Washington as a legitimate contender, and I think this is the start to a heck of a season. All right, any final thoughts before we wrap up this Week 1 college football preview?
It's back, baby.
It is back.
It
I'm
is.
so freaking excited. Today was the last day, or last weekend, last Saturday without college football. I cannot wait.
There's college
No,
football
we're not.
Yeah.
Dylan already talked about
UMass
this.
beat Duquesne
No.
63-15 in a nail biter.
in Jacksonville State right now.
Oh my
A ranked
gosh.
FCS game. Come on, it doesn't get much better than that.
Actually, it does.
Football, baby. It's college football. Come on.
Of course, Dan is watching Jacksonville State right now. The only game you can sell me on is Wyoming and whoever the heck they play, like New Mexico State or whatever.
Yeah, they do. No,
Yeah.
but Prairie View, I don't know the score right now, but Prairie View A&M is beating Rice right now. Dude.
Oh, no, Rice won.
Upset alert. Jeez.
Rice won by 3, but it was close.
Oh, really? Dang.
Rice outscored him 12-0 in the fourth quarter.
Ah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But
Auburn.
all right, that's going to do it for the Week 1 college football preview. We're going to have these every single week. It'll usually be us 3. Who knows if we'll lose some, we'll gain some. Who knows? It's a long season. We're going to get into all of that. Stay tuned for next week. Hopefully Sunday morning we're going to get a NFL preview out as well as a college football Week 1 reactions and all of that and more. Stay tuned. Follow us on YouTube and Twitter at The Sports Sermon. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you guys after the weekend ahead when college football is back, baby.